Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to unpack a really comprehensive strategy against something the sources call the universal thief, corruption. We're talking about that dark force that steals so much more than just money, right? It really steals the future, diverts funds meant for schools, hospitals, basic infrastructure.
Yeah, straight into private hands. It just cripples a nation's potential, honestly.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to get into the Melvyn CC Valenzuela anti-corruption blueprint. It's this detailed three-part approach.
And when you look closely at it, the core insight is, well, it's kind of startlingly simple. It argues this isn't fundamentally a legislative problem.
Meaning not just about passing more laws.
Exactly. The solution isn't just, one more piece of paper. Corruption thrives because of a failure in three deeper areas: a failure of inner character, a failure of external strategy, and maybe the biggest one, a failure to beat back cynicism.
Okay, character, strategy, cynicism. Let's unpack that framework. Valenzuela calls it the triangle of transformation, or T.O.T. It seems like more than just a manual. It's like a philosophical toolbox based on three pillars, or these three books the blueprint mentions.
Precisely, yeah. A toolbox is a good way to put it. Each pillar tackles one of those core failures. So you've got Polani Lolo, roughly, my grandfather's reminder, that's for forging character, the will to fight.
Okay, the will.
Then the art of smart tactics.
Yeah.
That provides the strategic framework, the intellectual way to fight effectively.
The way, got it.
And finally, the self-rescue playbook. This one's crucial. It's the resilience engine, designed to heal the internal wound of cynicism.
Right, the wound. Okay, so if we're looking at this blueprint, maybe thinking about how someone might apply it, the big question is, where do you start? When you're facing something so entrenched, so systemic, is it tactics first or the moral side?
Interestingly, it's neither. Not initially. The blueprint says you start where the system first tries to break the reformer, psychologically.
Oh, so the resilience piece comes first.
Yes. That pillar, drawn from the self-rescue playbook, has to come before anything else. Because fighting corruption, it's designed to be exhausting. It's meant to instill fear, despair. It pushes people, even really ethical public servants, into what the blueprint calls a toxic loop of apathy.
That makes sense. That loop of, I can't change anything, so why even bother? That feeling, that resignation must be the corrupt system's best weapon. Honest people just give up and walk away.
Exactly right. And the blueprint sees this vulnerability. It defines the playbook as like essential psychological armor for what's going to be a long war.
Yeah.
So the very first action item is what it calls the emotional detox.
Emotional detox. Okay, what does that mean practically?
It means consciously identifying and then deliberately exiting that emotional loop of despair and hopelessness.
How do you actually do that, though? It sounds a bit abstract. Does the blueprint offer tools?
It does. It talks about creating internal mental boundaries. Think about public servants who are constantly exposed to toxic stuff, misuse of funds, deliberate incompetence, you name it. The playbook teaches them to mentally separate their personal integrity from the systemic toxicity all around them.
Okay, so you maintain your own standards.
Right. You keep your professionalism, your standards, but you consciously stop absorbing the emotional weight of every single failure that isn't actually yours. It's about recognizing, okay, my personal ethical worth isn't tied to whether this entire system gets fixed tomorrow.
That distinction feels vital. But we know reform movements, especially against corruption, they're just littered with setbacks. People pour years into legal fights, investigations, only to see loopholes or cases thrown out on technicalities.
Yeah.
How does the blueprint help people handle those kinds of, epic failures without falling back into that toxic loop?
This is where the core resilience strategy really kicks in. It's about reframing failure as data, pure and simple.
Data, not disaster.
Exactly. Most people see failure as a moral judgment on their effort. Like, see, the system is invincible, I failed, and that makes them quit. The blueprint mandates really, that you see failure purely as intelligence, information.
Can you give me a concrete example? Say, a big public audit, it fails to prove collusion, the case gets tossed. How is that data?
That failure is incredibly valuable. It tells you precisely where the system's defenses are strongest. Was the audit thrown out because of, say, flaws in how evidence was collected? Okay, that's data telling you need better training in forensic accounting or maybe chain of custody rules.
Right.
Or was it political interference higher up, maybe at the judicial level? That's data showing where you need to build strategic alliances to protect the judiciary next time. You analyze why you lost specifically and use that intel to redesign the next approach. Failure becomes just a very expensive but very useful training session.
That's a powerful reframe. Fascinating. And running alongside that, the blueprint talks about mastering calm thinking. Why is managing emotion like anger so critical? You'd think anger would fuel reform, wouldn't it?
It can initially, but sustained anger is a tactical liability. It leads to mistakes, bad judgment calls, and, crucially, burnout. People fighting reform often want you to react emotionally because that's when you make errors, expose vulnerabilities.
So they try to provoke you.
Absolutely. The blueprint calls this the pressure test, developing the ability to act solely on the data, not on the fire in your belly. You have to cultivate the capacity to react without emotion driving the action. True strategic strength isn't impulsive rage. It's the controlled, disciplined application of force based on evidence.
Okay, so phase 1 is about armoring the mind, beating cynicism, building that internal stability. We've got the mental resilience. Where does the battle go next? The blueprint seems to shift focus then.
It does. It moves from the self to the core ethical problem.
Right.
Carrot. Phase 1 ensures you can survive the fight. Phase 2 defines what you're fighting for. If you look at the big picture, corruption is always fundamentally a choice. It's choosing personal gain, even small comforts, over the public good. Paulini Lolo provides that moral foundation needed to consistently make the right choice, grounding reformers in values that need to be unshakable.
And one of those core pillars is pananagutan. We might translate it as responsibility and accountability, but I get the sense the blueprint gives it a deeper weight.
Oh, it definitely does. Pananagutan isn't just accountability like ticking a box. It carries a really strong cultural weight, a sense of moral obligation and stewardship towards the community. Corruption thrives where there's anonymity, where there's no personal ownership. Embracing Pananagutan transforms someone from just an employee into an active guardian of public resources.
So for a leader, it means
They stand ready to own failures as much as successes. It flips the script from a culture of blame to a culture of duty.
I have to say, I found the lesson from Kitchen Wisdom really insightful, connecting high-level fiscal responsibility to such a basic, almost intimate moral rule.
Ah, yes, the huwag kang magsayang ng pagkain rule, don't waste food. It's simple, right? Something your grandparents might tell you. But the blueprint transposes that directly onto public finance.
How so?
The logic is, if you show gratitude and thrift by refusing to waste food on your own plate, that same ethic must extend to the public budget. It's a direct counter to the institutional mindset of greed and wastage. Think about things like budget padding, ghost projects, reckless spending on, fancy furniture.
It gives you a really accessible moral litmus test, doesn't it? Do you treat taxpayer money with the same respect you treat food in your own home?
Exactly. It makes the abstract crime of misuse of funds feel personal, feel as morally wrong as like a selfish act of waste within your own family. It becomes an anchor for institutional ethics.
Okay, so we're building individual character. But how do you scale that? The blueprint talks about moving from private belief to organizational culture, mentioning an organizational integrity pledge. This isn't just some mission statement hung on a wall, is it?
No, definitely not. It's framed as a public contract. This framework mandates a visible, signed commitment to a written set of non-negotiable integrity rules. Making it public, making it an organizational contract, establishes a kind of collective moral authority and institutional consistency.
So everyone's on the same page, publicly.
Yes, and it makes the commitment measurable. It ensures every member, regardless of their rank, is held to the same clear ethical standard, no exceptions.
All right. So we have the will to fight, resilience, and the moral code to guide us, character. Now we need the how. This takes us to phase 3, the strategic framework. As the source notes, corruption isn't dumb. It's strategic, often run by sharp, careful tacticians. So good character isn't enough on its own.
It has to be paired with effective action. You need the art of smart tactics.
This shift feels critical.
It absolutely is. Good intentions, sadly, lose to disciplined malice almost every time if they aren't backed by strategy. The art of smart tactics lays out the rules of engagement for navigating the real battlefield, the legal challenges, the political maneuvering, all of it. And the first critical rule here is the readiness protocol, essentially. Weaponized preparation.
Weaponized preparation. That Sounds intense. It means being proactive, not just reactive.
Precisely. Meticulous prep work for investigations, audits, legal challenges. The mantra here is, success happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Don't wait for the crisis, be ready for it.
Exactly. You don't wait for the corrupt players to make a mistake, though they inevitably will. Greed makes people sloppy eventually. You prepare the legal and evidentiary framework now, so when they do slip up, you can strike with overwhelming, ideally invulnerable evidence.
What does that preparation look like?
It means parallel tracking, securing the legal documents while simultaneously preparing the public communication strategy, triple-checking the evidence, making sure the case is watertight before it even sees the light of day.
That level of meticulous preparation sounds like it requires significant cooperation, though. You can't really fight systemic corruption solo. Which brings us to another principle, building strategic allies, not enemies.
Yes, and this is a really complex tactical point. The blueprint is clear. Strength isn't in standing alone, it's in standing together. A strategist has to proactively map out potential allies, civil society groups, ethical business leaders, reform-minded government officials, even across political divides sometimes.
How do you bridge those divides?
By focusing on specific mutual anti-corruption goals, rather than demanding complete ideological purity. Find the common ground on cleaning up the specific area.
But that's where the potential friction lies, isn't it? Building alliances often involves compromise.
Yeah.
How does the blueprint handle that risk, the danger that in trying to get an ally, you might compromise your own moral standing?
And that leads directly to the final tactical rule mentioned, the shortcut test.
The shortcut test.
Okay. This rule mandates rejecting the temptation of quick fixes or political compromises that might risk mirroring the very behavior you're fighting. If you use shady deals or legally dubious methods just to win one battle, you sacrifice the moral authority you absolutely need to win the war.
So, for example, if a politician offers support but quietly asks you to overlook some minor past issue in their department, the framework says that's a shortcut you must reject.
Yes. To maintain long-term credibility, you commit only to the long-term, fully ethical path. Your integrity has to be non-negotiable because your credibility. That's the one weapon your opponents can't manufacture or easily destroy. The second you're seen as just another player using the same dirty tricks, the game is over.
Wow. Okay, so putting it all together for you, the listener, we've walked through this triangle of transformation. It's this human framework, really, built on character, strategy, and resilience. It feels like a complete program designed to tackle corruption from the inside out, whether that's in a school, a business, or a whole government agency.
It really forces the realization that corruption isn't just a policy problem to be solved on paper. It's like a fortress built on three things: fear, greed, and public cynicism. The T.O.T is designed to attack all three weak points at once. You forge the unbreakable will, the character, with Lolo. You gain the disciplined way, the strategy, with the art of smart tactics. And you ensure you have the unshakable resilience to just keep going using the self-rescue playbook.
It definitely demands a level of commitment that goes way beyond election cycles. The blueprint talks about it being a decades-long commitment, like building a new civilization almost.
That psychological commitment, it's the price of admission, really.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared for constant pushback.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. Sustaining this kind of long-term war against corruption requires a constant, conscious choice about how you view pain. Because you will face setbacks. You'll face attacks on your integrity, defeats that feel absolutely crushing. The challenge, the choice the blueprint seems to demand, is the ability to see that pain, those inevitable failures and setbacks, not as a tombstone marking the death of your reform efforts, but as a training weight.
That analogy really is key to the whole philosophy, I think.
How does pain become a training weight? Well, when you lose a battle, that pain, that struggle, it teaches you the exact nature of the system's weakness. It exposes the flaw in the law, the loophole in the process. That lesson, learned the hard way, allows you to redesign your next effort to be stronger, more targeted, more lethal to corruption. That continuous choice to let the resistance strengthen you rather than break you, that perhaps is what defines the lasting legacy of change. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.